Shocking. The tennis world had been watching Alex Eala's rise all summer, but Cincinnati may have delivered the clearest proof yet that something much bigger than a winning streak is happening around the 21-year-old Filipina. This is no longer simply a story about rankings, victories, or another promising young player climbing the WTA ladder. This is the story of an entire community following one athlete across continents, filling stadiums with Philippine flags, driving for hours just to watch her play, organizing reunions around her matches, creating their own language for her tennis, and turning ordinary tournament sessions into something that feels closer to a national celebration. ESPN has now highlighted Eala as Cincinnati's biggest crowd magnet, confirming what fans, players, and tournament observers had already been witnessing with their own eyes. The remarkable part is that Eala did not arrive in Ohio as the tournament's biggest established superstar. She arrived as the number 17 seed, carrying the highest seeding of her career at a WTA 1000 event, with an impressive 8-1 record on North American hard courts and momentum from her breakthrough WTA title in Washington and her run to the round of 16 in Toronto. But the numbers only tell half the story. The other half was standing in the seats. It was waving Philippine flags. It was shouting her name. It was traveling hundreds of miles. It was waiting outside stadiums. And it was proving that Alex Eala has become something tennis rarely sees, a player whose impact reaches far beyond the boundaries of the court. Her second-round match against Elena Gabriela Ruse showed exactly why the excitement around her has become impossible to ignore. Eala dominated the points behind Ruse's serve, winning 71% of points against her first serve and an extraordinary 78% against her second serve before the match ended with Ruse retiring because of a right foot injury. For Eala, it was her 8th victory in her last 9 matches. But once again, the most interesting part of the story was not simply the score. It was everything happening around it. ESPN emphasized that Eala's importance extends beyond her results and into something potentially much larger: her ability to inspire young Filipinos to become interested in tennis. That is where the Eala Effect becomes different. Winning attracts attention, but identity creates loyalty. And Filipino fans were not merely watching Eala win. They were seeing one of their own carrying the Philippine flag onto some of the biggest courts in the world. They were seeing a young woman who had become a symbol of possibility. Suddenly, Cincinnati was not just another stop on the WTA calendar. For many fans, it was a destination. One group of Filipino supporters had reportedly planned a college reunion around coming to Cincinnati to watch Eala. Think about that for a moment. These friends were scattered across different parts of the United States, living separate lives, following separate schedules, yet they found a reason to come together again because of one tennis player from the Philippines. They did not simply choose Cincinnati as a vacation. They built their reunion around the possibility of seeing Alex Eala compete. Then came another story that somehow captured the obsession even better. One fan had watched Eala in Toronto at the National Bank Open, and then drove 8 hours to Cincinnati to see her again. 8 hours on the road, hundreds of miles, all for another chance to watch a 21-year-old Filipina play tennis. These were not casual spectators who happened to be nearby. These were people rearranging their lives around Eala's schedule. And the financial commitment was not insignificant either. Tickets that had once been available around $275 were reportedly being listed near $470 in Cincinnati, yet the demand continued. Fans kept coming. They kept buying. They kept traveling. Because for them, the experience was worth more than the ticket price. Then there was the fan who became part of Eala's growing mythology, the inflatable blue dinosaur. During the Canadian Open, one Filipino supporter appeared in the stands wearing an inflatable blue dinosaur costume with a Philippine flag draped over it like a cape. He danced. He celebrated. He put his leg over the railing and shook it with complete, ridiculous, unforgettable enthusiasm. And Eala noticed. She remembered him. In a video shared by the Cincinnati Open, Eala described him as the perfect fan, recalling the dinosaur costume, the Philippine flag, and the wild dancing. That moment might sound funny, but it says something important about the relationship forming between Eala and her supporters. They are not simply spectators watching from a distance. They feel connected to her journey, and she recognizes them in return. The fans have even developed their own vocabulary around her tennis. During a discussion involving Blair Henley and the popular tennis show Love All, one of Eala's fan-created expressions came up: the playful fuchsia serve, a nickname inspired by the unconventional appearance of Eala's service motion. For years, that serve was one of the most criticized parts of her game. Now her supporters have turned it into a joke, a badge of identity, and another piece of the culture growing around her. That is what happens when a player becomes more than a player. Every unusual movement becomes recognizable. Every celebration becomes memorable. Every fan has a story. And because WTA matches often take place during difficult hours for viewers in the Philippines, supporters have developed their own rituals to stay awake and follow Eala's journey. The humor, the chants, the flags, the costumes, and even the slang have become part of the experience. Pinoy culture is no longer sitting outside the tennis world looking in. It is becoming part of the atmosphere inside it. And some of the sport's most experienced voices have noticed. Rennie Stubbs, former doubles world #1 and a former coach of Serena Williams, discussed the unusual atmosphere surrounding Eala's matches during the North American hardcourt swing. She acknowledged that some Filipino supporters are still learning the traditional etiquette of tennis and can become extremely loud or celebrate at moments when the point is still happening. But Stubbs did not frame that as a reason to reject the fans. Instead, she focused on what their energy is doing for the sport. She said she was all for the excitement because there is something extraordinary about the atmosphere Eala creates every time she walks onto a court. Stubbs even recalled an emotional moment involving Katie McNally after her match against Eala in Toronto. Despite playing against a crowd that was overwhelmingly supporting Eala, McNally reportedly thanked Eala for allowing her to be part of the experience. That is a remarkable statement from an opponent. Imagine losing a match while thousands of people are celebrating against you, yet walking away feeling grateful because the atmosphere was so unique. That is the power of the Eala Effect. It is not simply about overwhelming opponents. It is about creating an environment they remember. Stubbs went even further, suggesting that many established players may never have experienced anything quite like an Eala crowd, except perhaps the atmosphere surrounding Serena Williams during her final years playing in New York. Every time an opponent steps onto the court against Eala, they are not just facing Eala. They are facing the expectation of an entire community. They are walking into a stadium where the emotional balance may feel completely different from what they are accustomed to. And that matters. Tennis is an individual sport, but Eala has somehow created the feeling of a team behind her. Then came Amanda Anisimova. The American star, ranked no. 10 in the world and seated 9th in Cincinnati, knew exactly what she was about to encounter. She had never played Eala before, but she had already heard the stories. She knew about the incredible season. She knew about the growing fan base. She knew that the atmosphere around Eala's matches had become one of the most talked about features of the North American swing. Anisimova openly said she was looking forward to the experience, acknowledging that Eala has an incredible fan base and that the atmosphere seems extraordinary every time she plays. She even referenced the comparison previously made by Naomi Osaka, who described Eala's matches as feeling more like basketball games than traditional tennis matches. For Anisimova, that was not a warning. It was an invitation. She said she loved packed stadiums and good atmospheres and was prepared to feed off the energy, even knowing that most of the crowd would probably be supporting Eala. On paper, Anisimova had every reason to feel confident. She was a world-class player with 2 Grand Slam final appearances in 2025, victories at the Qatar Open and China Open, and a history that included winning the 2017 US Open girls singles title over Coco Gauff and reaching the French Open semifinals at just 17 years old. But Eala had something equally powerful: momentum and belief. She had already defeated 7 top 10 players during the season, including Iga Swiatek twice, Elena Rybakina, Coco Gauff, and Jessica Pegula. She had just completed a remarkable revenge run in Washington, defeating players who had previously beaten her, and she had arrived in Cincinnati with the confidence of a player who increasingly believes she belongs on the biggest stages. Anisimova had even praised Eala earlier in the season, calling attention to the young Filipina's incredible fan base and describing her as a strong representation of her country. She had once stayed courtside to watch Eala because the atmosphere itself was worth experiencing. Now she was going to be the opponent standing directly in the middle of it. But to understand why the Cincinnati story matters, you have to go back further. The Eala Effect did not suddenly appear in Ohio. It had been building for months. At Indian Wells, hundreds of Filipino fans reportedly gathered outside the stadium long before Eala's match, holding Philippine flags and wearing shirts supporting her. When the match was delayed into a cold desert evening and became the latest starting match of the day, many supporters refused to leave. They stayed wrapped in coats and blankets because they wanted to watch Eala. Afterward, Eala acknowledged how much that meant to her, saying the effort her supporters made to stay late and endure the cold added to the emotion of the experience. Then came Miami, where Eala's breakout performances placed her firmly on the global tennis map. Jessica Pegula later recalled facing Eala in Miami and being stunned by the crowd. She was from Miami. Yet, she found an entire stadium seemingly supporting the young Filipina. Her reaction was essentially disbelief. Where had all these people come from? That question has followed Eala ever since. The answer is the Filipino diaspora. In city after city, Filipinos living abroad have found a common gathering point around Eala. They arrive carrying flags, signs, phones, families, and stories. They create what feels like a temporary homeland wherever Eala plays. Miami, Toronto, Cincinnati. Wherever she goes, the community follows. And that is why the Eala Effect may ultimately prove to be more important than any individual tournament result. ESPN has recognized that her significance extends beyond the court and into her potential to bring young Filipinos into tennis. Coco Gauff has also welcomed the impact Eala is having, noting that she brings a completely new demographic to the WTA and describing her as a positive role model. Stubbs believes the long-term effect could be even greater, predicting that Eala will bring many young children into tennis and help the sport grow. Eala herself understands the weight of what is happening. She has admitted that there are moments when the attention feels heavy and moments when it is fun, but she is trying to take it all in. She also understands the responsibility behind it. The attention did not appear from nowhere. It came because of years of work, sacrifice, training, losses, comebacks, and victories. And she knows that if she wants this story to continue, the work cannot stop. That may be the most important part of the entire phenomenon. The flags, the chants, the dinosaur costume, the 8-hour drives, the packed stadiums, and the viral moments are all consequences of what Eala has done on the court. The movement exists because she gave people something to believe in. She gave Filipino fans a player they could see themselves in, someone young, global, ambitious, and unafraid to carry the identity of her country into the biggest arenas in tennis. At Cincinnati, that identity became impossible to miss. What began as support became a spectacle. What began as spectators became a community. And what began as one young player's journey became a story involving an entire nation and its diaspora. The tennis establishment may still be trying to understand exactly what is happening, but the fans already know. They know why they drive 8 hours. They know why they rearrange reunions. They know why they wait in the cold. They know why they stay awake at impossible hours. They are not simply watching Alex Eala play tennis. They are watching one of their own challenge the limits of what they thought was possible. And that is why the biggest question surrounding Eala is no longer simply how high can she climb in the rankings. It is how far can this movement go? Cincinnati may only be another tournament on the calendar, but the scenes surrounding Eala suggest that something much larger is taking shape. The US Open awaits. More WTA tournaments will follow. More young Filipinos will see her name. More children may pick up a racket because they saw Eala compete. More fans may discover tennis because they want to understand the sport their hero is changing. And if that happens, then the greatest achievement of the Eala Effect will not be a trophy or a ranking. It will be the generation that comes after her. A generation that sees tennis not as a distant sport dominated by foreign stars, but as a place where a Filipino can belong, compete, win, and inspire millions. That is the real revolution happening around Alex Eala. She is not simply trying to win matches anymore. She is changing who believes they can play them. And as the Philippine flags rise, as the chants grow louder, and as another stadium becomes another temporary home for her supporters, one thing is becoming increasingly difficult for the tennis world to ignore. Alex Eala did not bring a fan base to Cincinnati. She brought a movement. And if Cincinnati was any indication, this movement is only getting started.